I'm going to be doing an instructional video on pecan pie. Now, it's not the world's most difficult pie, but ours is pretty special. It's called Mama Carrie's Twice Baked Pecan Pie. It's not so much the ingredients that are important, but it's the process, and of course, love. This year, we're going to do this video specifically because our young son, who's far away from home, won't be spending the holiday with us. Look at him. Isn't he handsome? Takes after his mommy, don't you think? Anyway, oh my goodness, he really is a good looker, isn't he? Anyway, so we're going to give you some step-by-step instructions, and we figured we were going to do it for him anyway, so we might as well share with you. Now, this pie is very special to us. The recipe came to us back in 1998. It's the first year we tried it out. And ever since then, sure, every single time, no fail recipe for the greatest pecan pie that you've ever had. Plus, it helps if you got a little southern in you, doesn't it? All right, well, we're gonna go head on into the kitchen and I'm gonna show you how it's made. Now, I will be honest, I've never actually made the pecan pie. I've only watched it done over and over and over again. So I think I've got it down. Let's give it a shot. This one's for you, Poe. All right, here we go, guys. Let's head to the kitchen. It's this way. Now, the most important thing about making any pie, or really any food and preparing for the holidays, is have a good instructional book and also clean your house. It's always important to have an immaculate house before the holidays. So many people are going to be coming over and you don't want them to think that you live like a pig. So make sure you definitely go over your floors at least twice. That's very important. Okay, why don't we come on in here? Now, for this particular pie, like I said, the ingredients aren't particularly unusual, nor are they anything you've never done before. If you've never made a pecan pie, then maybe it will be new for you. But for those of you who've made them lots of times, the only real difference here is that we're going to double the original recipe. Yes, that's right. We're going to double the original recipe. This is a very important step in the process. So why don't we go ahead? Now, I've got all of my ingredients here laid out on the counter, just like they do in a cooking show. Because if there isn't anything that I haven't learned from binge watching network television for years on end, because that's technically how I learned how to cook, it's that you need a normal amount of dirty dishes to create anything that's supposed to taste spectacular. So we have a variety of different size bowls with a variety of different measured instruments in here. All of these beautiful ingredients, like eggs, for instance. We're going to actually use 6 eggs, okay? So all my other eggs were cracked, so I'm just cracking this one for effect. Okay. Now, I like to throw them in the sink because I usually throw most of my garbage in the sink. All right, so we've got our 6 eggs here, and this is a big old bowl of corn syrup. Technically, I think it's 2 cups of corn syrup. That sounds like a lot of corn syrup, and truly, dear God, it is. Now, here's our vanilla. Compared to the corn syrup, actually, there's very little vanilla. There's only 2 teaspoons of vanilla in here. Could you believe that? In this little tiny cup. And here we have our butter. And the butter, which should be 2 tablespoons, it's actually 4 because, like I said, we're doubling the recipe. That's very important. Everything's been doubled. Even the sugar's been doubled. But you know what? Who doesn't want a little extra sugar, right? Hey, sugar. Okay, so this one is 2 cups of sugar right here. So, well, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take all these damn eggs and we're going to stick them in a mixing bowl. All right, so here's eggs and here's a mixing bowl. Oh, there they all go, right inside. Now, it says to mix them gently. I don't know what that means. I've never mixed a gentle egg in my life, but we're going to just take this wooden spoon here and stab the eggs. Stab them out. I find that if you stab them, not only does it give you a sense of fulfillment because you're just sitting there murdering these little tiny round discs of misery, but it also makes them stir a lot easier. That way the slippery little suckers can't get away. All right, so stirring those up, always stir your liquids first. All right, then we're going to add some sugar. 2 cups of sugar right here into the hatch. Whoop, there it goes. This is my favorite mixing spoon. I think it's cute. I'm gonna mix this all together. Look at that. So it's getting nice and creamy. If you've never cooked anything before, you might say, wow, that's beautiful and amazing. Thank you for helping us learn. And if you have, you'd say, maybe she should be using a whisk, and maybe I should. But I'm gonna defy that right now, and I'm gonna use this wooden spoon simply for the look. Doesn't this look nice? Me stirring this bowl with this wooden spoon. Well, now it seems like it's all mixed together. Whew, now we're gonna add the corn syrup. Now corn syrup is a big giant gelatinous glob of why would you do that? But we're gonna do it anyway, even after we've added just a crap ton, which is a legal measurement in a lot of states, of sugar. So I'm gonna pour this in. I'm using a spatula to scrape the sides. Obviously you can see that I'm doing that. I like how on cooking shows they always just tell you what you already know. That's fine. And then once again, another dirty dish and a crying dog. Okay, in the sink go the dishes and the garbage. In fact, let's get rid of this one too. I love doing dishes, don't you? All right, so next we're gonna add this butter. Oh, well, we were gonna add this butter. Now we're gonna squish this butter and add it. It's been sitting here entirely too long. Probably gonna have to get out a whisk. That's okay, don't worry. It'll melt in the oven. All right, so now that we've got the butter in, let's go ahead and add the vanilla. Doesn't that seem like not enough vanilla? But it is. Now, I'm gonna tell you my secret to cooking anything. And people generally like my food. I'm not saying that I'm a great cook, but I'm not saying that I'm a terrible cook either. Mama Carrie would argue that you should follow the instructions as they are, but I would argue that maybe you could do a little bit of this or that that you prefer on your own because your tastes may vary. Now for me, I like a little salt with my sweet, but I actually like a little bit more salt with my sweet. So instead of putting 1/4 of a teaspoon plus 1/4 of a teaspoon, which would be 2/4 of a teaspoon of salt into this container, I'm just gonna take my fingers and dump it. Yes, I think they call that a pinch or something. So let's go ahead and stir this together now. I think we're gonna have to get that good old whisk out because the effect isn't working quite as well as a whisk would. So, somewhere in a drawer, you know I have one. Oh yes, I put it in a jar. That's a good place for a whisk. I don't know, seems like it makes sense. Okay, so now we're gonna aggressively whip this together simply because we have a lot of, you know, psychological issues that don't always make their way to the surface, but sometimes during certain activities, we can find a way to find an outlet for those types of things, you know what I mean? Okay, anyway, so we're gonna continue to stir. I always find that a little bit of red wine with dinner, pretty much any activity, tends to make the activity a lot more pleasant, especially if you're getting tennis elbow. Dear God, why is this so thick? Anyway, ta-da! Now, today, much like I may, you know, oh dear God. Okay, we're gonna split this in half. This should be fun. I'm gonna eyeball it. Well, I'm pretty good with my eyes. I don't know if you heard, I'm kind of a pretty good artist. I'm just artist in the kitchen, artist on the street. I do some street art. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna dump this in here. Yep, that's about half. Okay, good. Now, we'll discuss that later. In the meantime, we're going to add, now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker to this recipe, okay? And this is a real recipe that we have been doing every year. It's a tradition in our house, and I really think you're gonna enjoy it when it comes out. It's just something spectacular. But we did double everything except for the pecans. Let's face it, pecans ain't cheap, all right? Like you go in and you buy some pecans and you're like, dang, that's an expensive pecan. Like, why would you do that? So instead of getting pecans, you end up with something like peanuts or something. Simply peanuts will not work in this pie. You have to use pecans. So we're gonna be a little bit more sparing, all right? This is only
a cup and a half of pecans. Now, I wouldn't go any farther than that. I just do a cup and a half, so dump them in there.
So we have just put the pecans in here. Give it a couple good stirs. Look at how beautiful that is, isn't it? Golden and lovely, and there are little chunks of floating butter that'll melt later, okay? Now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna stick them in a pie shell. Now when you put a pie in a pie shell, this is particularly for those of you who have never baked a pie, particularly a pumpkin pie, which is coming up too. Maybe not on video, but definitely in your life. But here is a trick. Just make sure you put it on a cookie sheet so that you can hold on to it because they wiggle and squiggle. And this is a wiggly pie. All right, so we're gonna take it and we're gonna just dump it in there. Just get it in there. Get all those little guys in there. Just make sure you scrape the edges. I hate it when on the cooking shows they don't scrape the edge of the bowl and you're just like, what is wrong with you? Are you sick? Like, don't you want to lick that? I kind of want to lick it. I really like sugar. God, I like sugar so much. Okay, so we're going to get that in there. I try not to eat it, but I like it. All right, woo! Yeah, look at that. It's chock full of nuts. Okay, so into the sink with our dirty dish for now. And then we're going to take our pie that is in our oven. Now, I will tell you one little thing real quick. Some people say that you should baste the edges of the crust with an egg white. Some people put butter on it, sugar it, make it all fancy. I wouldn't recommend that for this pie. I think you could probably skip this step. Okay, so let's put it in the oven. Here it comes. Open its mouth. And in it goes. All right, put it in the middle of the rack, kids, because that's where it bakes the best. Shut the oven. Make sure that you've lit Our Lady of Holiday candle to bless your food. And then we wait for the ding. We'll set let's see, we're going to set this sucker to, well, this is where it's tricky. Okay, so it's a 400-degree oven, which it's a 400-degree oven, for God's sake. 400-degree oven, and we're going to bake it in there for 15 minutes. So you got to set your alarm here to 15 minutes. Now after 15 minutes, you've got to go back and you've got to turn the heat down to 350 and then continue cooking it for 35 to 40 minutes. And then you'll be ready to take it out of the oven and then, well, and then. So here we go. We're going to let it go. All right. So we're just about ready to take that pie out of the oven. So I got my oven mitts. Have you ever noticed that oven mitts only come in one direction? I feel like you should have a right and a left-handed oven mitt, but for some reason they didn't feel that that was important or necessary. So with your two right-handed oven mitts, we're going to go ahead and wait for our little dinger to ding. If it would ding. There, ding! Okay, so let's go ahead. That was supposed to be timed a little better. So we're going to take this out. Oh, and there it is, our beautiful, fantastic pecan pie, but twice baked. Wow, clearly this has only been baked one time. So in lieu of tradition and to cite once again the importance of home cleanliness, we're just going to drop it on the floor. Now you say, why would you do that after you spend all this time making such a beautiful pie? Don't worry, this is part of the steps. In fact, it's the most important steps. Remove your oven mitts and then lean over and prepare for holiday disasters. Now remember, I've only ever seen this done. I've never really had the capacity or opportunity to do it myself. So there's a first time for everything. The thing is, kids, is that sometimes we make mistakes, but we don't want other people to know that, so we lie about it. Here's how we do that. First, we start by setting our pie to the side. And then we get out a broom and we clean up the remaining proof that we may have potentially destroyed the only pie that we were going to take to the function. Right into the garbage disposal. If you don't have a garbage disposal, the trash can will do nicely. Now, come closer. I want to show you the next step, and this is a very important step. Remember, the pie may be hot. You might need to wait a few minutes to let it cool. You don't want to get any particulate matter into the pecans. So you're going to be sure to dig each and every single pecan out, because let's face it, pecans are expensive. And who can afford to go and get more pecans, especially on on Thanksgiving Day, because you have, probably not made anything in advance because you're 20-something and you haven't made a lot of good life choices yet. In fact, you're probably drunk or high. Who knows what you do at home? It's hard to say. Oh, I think that was a piece of hair. Okay, make sure you don't have any hair in it. Once again, it's important to stress why cleaning is very important. Come closer. See my method. So here I am digging the pecans out. Remember, you need to try to get all of the pecans out. Once you've successfully got all the pecans out of your pie, and this is actually the secret ingredient. It's not dirt. It's what makes it a twice-baked pie. Remember at the beginning when we said, hey, double your batch and make sure that you had a little bit left over? Well, this is why, folks. Oh, good pie. Shame. All right. But like I said, we don't want to waste any pecans or time. Time is of the essence because you're already late. And people were expecting you, and people were expecting a pecan pie. Now, you set this little guy to the side here, and that's when we turn on the sink. Then we begin to rinse the pecans as if they have never, ever been in a pie before. Like I said, once again, sometimes a colander and one of these little strainers can be very helpful. Come closer so you can look inside the sink and see how we're doing this. Kind of like tossing a salad, only we're tossing the nuts. Okay, keep on working it until you're pretty sure. You can even do one of these things right here. The omelet. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Right there in the sink. Make sure all your pecans don't look dirty or stink. Okay, that's a little song. All right, so now if you do lose a few, just dig them back out of the sink. Who's gonna know? Nobody. Unless you tell them. And we all know that two of us can keep a secret as long as one of us is dead, right? Okay. So now they're pretty much mostly rinsed off. Just making sure once again that there's no hairs or stray pieces of grit, which there shouldn't be if you've cleaned your house. I can't stress this enough, son. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to pat them dry on a paper towel. These paper towels over here. Isn't he handsome? Okay. That's just a phase. Okay, it's very stylish. Like is not. Okay, so we're going to get these paper towels out, and that's when we just see how that helps a lot to get all of the particulate matter out of the nuts. You don't want particulate matter in your nuts. Okay, so pat them dry. This is probably good. I mean, they're going to get wet anyway. And look them over once. Come closer. Look them over. See that there's nothing weird or abnormal about your nuts. You might want to do a close inspection. Handle them a little bit. Just sort of get your fingers in there until you're sure that your nuts are all nice and clean. Okay, now we're just going to keep them on this towel. I mean, why not? We're going to have to transfer them into the bowl that we set aside to begin with. Okay, and once again, I'm going to give it a stir. Add a little bit more salt now if you want to. And into our second pre-made pie crust. I can't stress to you enough about why it's so important to have more than one pie crust. They sell them in a 2-pack, okay? And don't bother making them by scratch. It's just a waste of time and money. All right, so let's go ahead and get our pecans in there. It's nice. Nothing weird about it at all. If anything, it's going to add to the flavor because you've roasted those nuts in their own juices.
I said that. Okay, so now, once again, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it on a cookie sheet, okay? A cookie sheet. But I did say, you know, and I was thinking about it while we were waiting for the oven, maybe I should show you guys how to tint your pie. Okay, so the reason people tent their pies is so that the crust doesn't burn on the edges. Now, this pie doesn't necessarily need a tent. These nuts are good and in there fine, and they'll probably be okay in the oven on their own, but just in case, I thought I'd just demonstrate. So I crisscross my heavy-duty aluminum foil, then I pull up one corner and fold it together. This will help you when you're doing pumpkin pies. You need to do this on a pumpkin pie. It's just absolutely essential. And fold over the side like that. So pull it up, one over the other, and then just bend it. Okay? Pull it up, fold it over the other, and then just bend it. And then you can sort of shape your tent right over the edge of that crust. And that'll keep your crust from burning. Try to keep it off of your crust. It's kind of hard to do. Okay? It's as hard to do as it is hard to stand up straight while you're being videotaped. Now, I'm going to go ahead and once again, we're going to put this in the oven, okay? And now we're going to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes. True, it may take a little extra time with this pie, but the rewards are worth it. So into the oven it goes, once again, middle rack, right there. Shut the oven door, and we set the timer once again. All right, and now we wait. Oh my God. Well, oh, we're back, we're ready. Okay, we're ready to take the pie out. Is this unfathomable? Not one of these oven mitts is for a left-handed person, and you wonder why people with left hands are so jealous all the time. This left-handed, well, not people with left hands. I mean, everybody has a left hand, unless you don't have a left hand, and then that would be different. But anyway, I digress, as I do. We're going to take the pie out of the oven, okay? So many left-handed plates. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen anything like it. And it's a resurrection pie. It's a second chance. Here it is, your pie that you can take to your family gathering. It's beautiful, it's delicious, it tastes amazing. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Jessie, why in the world would you eat that? Because it's just plain good, okay? It's fine. No, there's nothing in there that you shouldn't have. It's delicious, and nobody will ever know the difference. So, I'm going to save that for later. Really delicious. Anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed our Thanksgiving presentation on how to make a twice-baked pecan pie. Then you can share it with your family, your friends. Just remember, and I can't stress to you enough, the importance of a clean house at the holidays. You should always make sure that you clean your house at least 2 days in advance, bake your pies at least on one of those days, and then start all of your side prep the day before the big thing, because the turkey takes up all of the space in your oven unless you have a roaster pan, and not everybody's as fortunate as that. So that's my advice for Thanksgiving. I hope that you have a fantastic holiday season, and like they say on all those videos, like us, share it. I don't have a Facebook video, YouTube thing, and I don't understand that stuff because it's like I'm old and it's confusing. But you can certainly share it, because who wouldn't want this recipe, okay? And from our home to yours, you know, happy holidays. Mwah!